There are exactly two kinds of people in this world. People who are afraid of Damien Cole, and people who haven't met him yet. I belong firmly, shamefully, to the first category. My name is Noah Park. I'm 26, a junior brand designer at Cole and Vance Euro, a creative agency in the city that everyone calls the Vault. Because the work was elite, the clients were billion-dollar, and the man whose name was on the building kept his employees locked in a state of low-grade terror from 9 to 6, Monday to Friday. And Damien Cole was terrifying. Not in the way villains in movies are terrifying, with the screaming and the throwing things. No, Damien Cole was terrifying the way a glacier is terrifying a Euro, vast, silent, cold, and fully capable of crushing you without ever raising its temperature by a single degree. He spoke in a low, even voice that somehow carried across a room without ever getting loud. He never raised it. He didn't have to. I'd watched him fire a department head over a misaligned logo grid with the same expression a man uses to read the morning news. Calm. Bored even. The kerning is off by 4 pixels, he'd said, sliding the proof back across the glass table. We don't ship almost. Clear your desk by 5. The man had 3 kids. I, personally, had never been spoken to directly by Damien Cole for longer than 14 seconds. I knew this because I'd counted. Every single time. The longest exchange we'd ever had was the day I'd been hired, when he'd looked up from my portfolio, said, "You understand negative space. Good. Don't waste mine," and gone back to his email. That was it. That was the whole relationship. Which was fine. Which was great, actually. Because if Damien Cole never noticed me, Damien Cole could never ruin my life. I would do my work, collect my paycheck, and stay carefully, deliberately, blessedly invisible. It was a good plan. A perfect plan. The only problem with the plan was that I was a liar. Because I didn't just fear Damien Cole. I a Euro, and I would take this secret to my grave. I would let it be carved on my headstone in code Euro. I also could not stop noticing him. The way his suits fit, obscenely, unfairly well. The way he rolled his sleeves to his forearms when he was reviewing work late, exposing a watch that cost more than my car. The way his jaw tightened when a pitch wasn't landing. The way he had this single, almost imperceptible habit of pressing his thumb to his lower lip when he was thinking, and how every time he did it, I forgot how to operate a mouse. I hated it. I hated him. I hated the way my heart did something stupid every time he walked through the studio floor, all 6'2" of him, dark hair pushed back, gray eyes sweeping the room like he was grading everyone on their right to exist. He was my boss. He was a nightmare. And he was, against every ounce of my dignity, the protagonist of every embarrassing thought I'd had for the past 11 months. But nobody knew that, especially not him. And as long as I kept my mouth shut and my distance, it would stay that way. It was a perfect plan. Until Friday. Friday started bad and got worse. The way Fridays and agencies always do Euro. Like the universe saves up all its cruelty for the one day you're already dreaming about the weekend. It began with the Marchetti pitch. Marchetti was an Italian luxury house. Old money, older egos, and they were deciding between us and 2 other firms for a complete brand rework. The contract was massive, career-making, and our creative director, Priya, had put me on the supporting visuals a Euro, my first real shot at something that mattered. I'd spent 3 weeks on a series of hero compositions. Clean, emotional, modern. I was proud of them, which, for me, was rare. The client meeting was at 11. By 11:40, I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. The Marchetti team had been polite. Too polite. The kind of polite that means we are already composing the email that says no. They nodded at my work, smiled tightly, and then their lead a Euro, a woman in a silk scarf who looked like she'd never experienced a human emotion a Euro, had turned to Priya and said, "It's very nice. But it doesn't feel like Marchetti. Do you understand?" I understood. I understood that nice was the word you used at a funeral for a goldfish. Priya handled it beautifully, as she always did, pivoting to the broader concept and buying us another week. But the damage was done. I could feel it. My first real shot, and I delivered something that landed with a wet thud. I sat through the rest of the meeting in a fog, nodding at the right moments, my face doing that thing where it pretends to be fine. When the clients finally left, Priya squeezed my shoulder on her way past. "It's not you," she said quietly. "They do this. We'll rework it. Don't spiral." I was already spiraling. I spent the afternoon redoing the compositions, scrapping two of them entirely, the self-loathing settling into my chest like something with claws. By 6, the office had emptied. By 7, it was just me, the hum of the overhead lights, and a cold coffee I'd forgotten to drink. I was exhausted. I was ashamed. And I was, against my better judgment, about 2 bad decisions away from a terrible night. That's when my phone buzzed. Mia, bar? 20 minutes. You look like you need it, and I look like I want tequila. Non-negotiable. Asterisk. Mia was my best friend, my roommate of 4 years, and the human equivalent of a bad idea that loves you anyway. Noah, I shouldn't. Asterisk. Mia, I said non-negotiable. Park. Wear the jacket. We're grieving. Asterisk. I closed my laptop. Grieving felt accurate. The bar was called the Inkwell, which was pretentious, but the margaritas were strong and the lighting was dim enough to hide a multitude of regrets. Mia was already there when I arrived, perched on a stool with 2 salt-rimmed glasses waiting. To Marchetti, she said, raising hers. To my dignity, I said, raising mine. May it rest in peace. We drank. Then we drank again. Then Mia ordered a 3rd round and a basket of fries and started asking about work, which was my fault, because I'd already told her about the pitch over text, and Mia had the memory of an elephant and the subtlety of a fire alarm. So, she said, dragging a fry through ketchup, was the boss there? For the meeting of doom. I tensed. I always tensed when she brought him up, because Mia knew about my humiliating, top secret, absolutely not happening crush, and she found it hilarious. He was there, I said carefully. And he sat at the head of the table like a disappointed statue and said nothing, which is worse than saying something. Because when Damien Cole is silent, it means he's decided you're already dead and is simply waiting for you to stop moving. Mia howled. God, the way you talk about him. Anyone would think you were in love with the guy. I'm not in love with him. I'm in hate with him. There's a difference. Is there? The difference, I said, pointing at her with a fry, is that if Damien Cole were on fire, I would call the fire department. Eventually, after finishing my fries. You'd save the fries before him? I'd save the ketchup before him. Mia laughed so hard she nearly fell off her stool. The tequila was warm in my blood now, turning the edges of the world soft and golden, and the shame from the pitch was loosening its grip. I felt lighter, looser, dangerously loose. This is the part of the story where I should have stopped drinking. This is the part where any sensible person would have set down the glass, paid the tab, and gone home to sleep and wake up with nothing worse than a headache. I did not do that. Because Mia, God bless her, leaned in with that look euro, the one that always preceded a terrible idea euro, and said, okay, but honestly, scale of 1 to 10, how attractive is this man really? Because I've never seen him and you describe him like a Renaissance painting you're angry about. I snorted. He's a solid. I waved my hand. He's a asterisk problem, Mia. He walks into a room and the air changes. He's got these gray eyes, right? Like, not blue, not green, just gray, like a storm that hasn't decided what it wants to do yet. And his asterisk hands don't look at me like that. His hands are stupid, big and veiny, and he wears this watch, and when he rolls his sleeves up, I want to commit a crime. You're so normal about him. I'm extremely normal about him. I have never once thought about him outside of work. Liar. Fine, I think about him. But only in a professional, adversarial way. Like, wow, what an impossible, infuriating, stupidly attractive man. I bet he's a nightmare. I bet he's so controlling he'd pin you to a wall and tell you exactly what to do and you'd thank him. Noah, that's hate. That is pure, unfiltered hate, Mia. You just called your boss daddy in a hypothetical. I did no to euro. I stopped. Had I? The tequila made it hard to remember the exact trajectory of my own sentence. That doesn't count. Hypothetical daddy is a figure of speech. There's no such thing as hypothetical daddy. It's a asterisk literary device. Mia was crying. She was laughing so hard. And I was laughing too, warm and reckless and so stupid, because the tequila had taken the wheel and the rational part of my brain was already in the back seat with a bag over its head. Then Mia said the fateful words. You should text him. What? Text him. Right now? Just unload. Tell him everything you think of him. Get it out of your system. It'll be therapeutic. That is the worst idea you've ever had. And you once tried to deep fry a quesadilla in a wok. The quesadilla was fine. And I'm serious. Don't send it to him, obviously. Send it to me. Vented and ready. Treat me like your diary. I want the full, unhinged version. I blinked at her. The room swam a little. You want me to rant about my boss to you? Yes. As a treat. For me. Go wild. Call him names. Be petty. Be thirsty. I want everything. This was, objectively, insane. But the tequila thought it was brilliant. The tequila thought it was, in fact, the single greatest idea in the history of human communication. Fine, I said. Fine. But I'm not holding back. I'd be offended if you did. I pulled out my phone. The screen was bright and a little blurry. I opened my messages. Here's the thing about tequila and touchscreens and muscle memory. They are a cursed combination. Here's the other thing, I have 2 contacts saved almost identically. Mia and Damien Cole. I know. Saving my boss's number at all was the first mistake. Saving it right next to my best friends was the second. The all-caps warning was apparently not enough to save me from myself. My thumb found a name. My thumb thought it was doing great. My thumb was a traitor. I typed fast, riding the high of the moment, the keys blurring under my fingers, grinning to myself like an idiot because it felt good to finally say it all. Every petty, mortifying, overworked thought I'd been choking down for 11 months. This is what I wrote. Asterisk okay, so this is going to sound insane, but I need you to understand that my boss is the actual worst human being alive. Damien Cole, CEO of making me want to scream. He is impossible. He is infuriating. He walked into the studio today in that charcoal suit with the sleeves rolled up, and I swear to God the air left the building. Who does that? Who is allowed to be that annoying and that stupidly hot at the same time? It should be illegal. He looked at me today, like directly at me, for half a second, and my soul left my body. I hate him. I hate his gray eyes and his stupid jaw and his big dumb hands and the way he presses his thumb to his lip when he thinks. And the worst part? The absolute worst part is that I know that if that man ever got close enough to actually talk to me, I would completely lose my mind. Like call him Daddy, lose my mind. Yeah, I said it. Daddy. With a capital D. The man radiates. I will fix your entire life and also tell you how to breathe, energy, and I am not okay. Anyway, I'm going to go jump into the sea. Do not let me near him ever again. Asterisk. I hit send. I set my phone down. I picked up my margarita and took a long, victorious sip, feeling cleansed. Light. Free. Like a weight had been lifted. You sent it. Mia asked. Sent it, I said proudly. Every word. You're welcome. Iconic, Mia said. I love unhinged Noah. I grinned. The night went on. We had another round. I forgot about the text completely.
I woke up to 2 things. A headache that felt like a small creature was trying to escape my skull through my left eye, and a feeling of deep, primal dread that I could not yet explain. The headache was familiar. Hangovers and I were old friends. The dread was new. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to locate the source of the dread the way you'd track a smoke alarm. Somewhere, in the fog of last night, something had happened. Something bad. Something that my sober brain was now attempting to surface, like a body rising from a lake. I reached for my phone. The screen was bright. Too bright. I squinted. And there it was. Not under Mia. The message. My message. All of it. Every single catastrophic, fatal, life-ending word, sitting there in a little blue bubble, marked delivered, and beneath it, a gray check mark that meant my stomach dropped through the mattress read. Read at 1:47 a.m. I didn't breathe. I physically could not. The phone was in my hand and the words were on the screen and they were real. They were sent. I had sent them, not to Mia, not to my safe, understanding best friend, but to Damien Cole, my boss. The glacier. The man who fired people over kerning. I read my own words back and felt my soul attempt to physically depart my body. Call him Daddy, lose my mind. Yeah, I said it. Daddy. With a capital D, asterisk. Oh no, I whispered. The man radiates, I will fix your entire life and also tell you how to breathe, energy, and I am not okay, asterisk. Oh no. I hate his gray eyes and his stupid jaw and his big dumb hands. I made a sound. Not a word. Not a scream. Something between a whimper and the noise a computer makes when it crashes. I dropped the phone on the bed like it was radioactive and pressed both hands over my face. Mia. I shouted. Silence. Her room was empty. Of course. She had an early shift. She wasn't here to witness my death, which was a mercy, because I was going to die. I was actively dying. My career was over. My life was over. I was going to have to change my name and move to a fishing village and never look at a serif font again. I picked the phone back up with 2 fingers, as if that would help. There was no reply from Damien. Nothing. Not a word. Not an emoji. Not, you're fired. Just silence, which was worse, so much worse, because silence from Damien Cole was never good. Silence from Damien Cole was the silence of a man deciding how to dispose of a body. I scrolled up, frantic, praying I'd misread it, praying there was some glitch, some explanation. There wasn't. There was only the cold, perfect evidence of my own destruction. I sat on the edge of my bed and genuinely considered my options. Quit. Obviously. Quit before he could fire me. Email Priya, say a family emergency came up, a real one this time, and simply never return. Let my desk become a monument to cowardice. Live in the fishing village. Learn to gut fish. Be free. But there was no reply. And in the absence of a reply, a horrible, masochistic sliver of me whispered, maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he opened it and closed it without reading. Maybe his phone was in his pocket and the red receipt was automatic. Maybe. I checked the time. 8:17 a.m. Work started at 9. The rational thing was to call in sick. To buy myself a day. To figure out how to breathe. I did not do the rational thing. Because somewhere between the dread and the panic, a worse feeling had crept in. I wanted to know. I needed to see his face. I needed to know if he'd read it, how he'd read it, what it meant. I needed to know if I was dead or if, and this was the insane part, the part one couldn't look at directly something else entirely. So I got dressed with shaking hands. I brushed my teeth. I looked at myself in the mirror and said, out loud, you are going to walk in there and act normal, and it is going to be fine. My reflection did not believe me. My reflection was correct. Cole and Vance occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. The elevator ride up to the studio floor had never felt like a death march before. Today it did. I stood in the back of the elevator, briefcase clutched to my chest like a shield, watching the numbers climb. 7, 8, 9. My reflection in the polished doors looked pale and vaguely ill. 2 other designers, Lena and Tom, chatted about a Netflix show. Their voices sounded like they were coming from very far away. He read it. He read all of it. He knows. He knows I called him Daddy. The doors opened. The studio floor spread out before me, open plan, lots of glass, exposed brick, the kind of aggressively trendy workspace that was supposed to feel creative and mostly felt like a fishbowl. Plants everywhere. A ping-pong table no one used. And at the far end, behind a wall of frosted glass, the corner office. His office. I kept my head down and made it to my desk without incident. Booted up my computer. Opened a file I had no intention of working on. Stared at the screen. My phone sat in my pocket like a brick. 20 minutes passed. Nothing happened. Priya stopped by, asked about the rework, told me not to worry about Marchetti. I nodded along. I smiled. I felt, doing an admirable impression of a functional human being. Then, at 10:14, my email chimed. The sender line read, Damien Cole, Executive Office. My heart stopped. I am not being dramatic. It actually, physically skipped, and I pressed my hand flat against my chest like that would help. I opened it with the same 2-finger caution I'd used on my phone. Mr. Park. Please come to my office at 10:30. We need to talk. Alone. D. Cole. That was it. That was the whole email. 8 words and a signature line. No context. No regarding last night. No, you're fired, which somehow made it worse, because a firing would at least be information. This was just come. Talk. Alone. Alone. Why had he written alone? Why specify? Unless this was about the text, and he wanted to address it without witnesses, which meant it was either very bad or... I was spiraling again. I looked at the clock. 10:21, 9 minutes. I spent those 9 minutes composing and deleting a dozen possible opening lines for the conversation. About last night, no asterisk. I can explain what? Asterisk. That wasn't meant for you, great. Now he knows the daddy energy wasn't even for him. Even more humiliating, asterisk. Sir, I'd like to resign tempting, asterisk. None of them worked. By 10:29, I still had nothing, and my palms were sweating through my shirt, and I stood up on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. The walk across the studio floor took approximately 1,000 years. I could feel eyes on me, or I imagined I could. Lena glanced up. I pretended not to notice. The frosted glass wall grew larger in my vision. Behind it, a silhouette. Still. Waiting. I reached the door. The nameplate read D. Cole CEO in clean sans serif, because of course even his nameplate was impeccable. I knocked once. Come in. That voice. Low. Even. The glacier speaking. I turned the handle and stepped inside. Damien Cole's office was exactly what you'd expect from a man like him. Large, minimal, expensive. A wide oak desk. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city that probably cost more per month than my rent per year. One abstract painting on the wall, dark and moody. No clutter. No warmth. A place engineered to make you feel small. He was standing, not sitting. Leaning against the front edge of his desk, arms loosely crossed, in a navy suit with a euro, I noticed, with the part of my brain that refused to shut up no matter the circumstances, a euro, the sleeves rolled to his forearms. The watch. The forearms. The thumb pressed, just slightly, to his lower lip. He was looking right at me. I was going to be sick. I was going to faint. I was going to do both simultaneously, and they'd have to mop the CEO's office, and that would be my legacy. Close the door, he said. My hand found it behind me. I pushed it shut. The latch clicked in the silence, and the sound was very, very loud. Alone, the email had said. We were alone now. The whole office muffled behind frosted glass. Just me and him, and the small matter of a text message that contained the words Daddy with a capital D. Sit, he said, nodding at the chair across from him. I sat. My knees gave out gratefully. He didn't sit. He stayed leaning against the desk, which put him above me, looking down, which was a euro, I was going to die a euro, exactly the kind of dynamic my traitorous text had described. The universe was a comedian, and the joke was me. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just studied me. Those gray eyes moved across my face, unhurried, and I felt myself go hot from the collar to the hairline. I could not remember a single word of English. Then he spoke. You had a difficult day yesterday, he said. Calm. Neutral. The Marchetti pitch didn't land the way we hoped. I blinked. That's what this was about? Work? A euro, yes, I managed. Yes, it didn't. I'm sorry, a euro, I'm already reworking the compositions, Priya, and I have a plan to a euro. I'm not concerned about the pitch, he said. Oh no. He uncrossed his arms. He reached behind him, casually, and picked up his phone from the desk. He held it up, screen toward me, just slightly, and I saw it a euro, my message, the whole catastrophe, glowing on his screen. He'd kept it open. I'm more concerned, Damien Cole said, his voice dropping half a register, about this. The room tilted. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I looked like a fish. A fish that had just been served a subpoena. That a euro, that wasn't a euro, I swallowed hard. Mr. Cole, I can explain a euro. Can you? It wasn't a question. I'd like to hear it. Take your time. He set the phone down between us on the desk, my words still visible, and waited. Patient. Immovable. The storm-gray eyes fixed on mine. I had rehearsed nothing, because nothing would have been enough. I didn't mean to send it to you, I blurted. It was a euro, it was for my friend. Mia. I was venting. I'd had a terrible day, and I was a euro, I'd been drinking, which is not an excuse. I know it's not an excuse, a euro. You were drunk, he said. I was catastrophically drunk, sir. And in this catastrophically drunk state, he said, and there was something at the corner of his mouth now, the faintest shift, not quite a smile, something more dangerous than a smile. You decided to compose a detailed euro assessment of me. I a euro, yes. No. I a euro, it was venting, it was just venting. I say things I don't mean when I'm a euro. Which part didn't you mean? I stared at him. What? He tilted his head, just slightly. You listed several opinions in this message. I'm asking which of them you'd like to retract. He picked the phone up again, scrolling with unhurried ease, and read, in that low, even voice, my own words back to me, and I wished, with my whole heart, for the fishing village. Impossible. Infuriating. He glanced up. Those, I assume, you stand by. I a euro, yes. I mean a euro, no. I mean a euro. Stupidly hot. He read it without flinching. Gray eyes. Stupid jaw. Big dumb hands. He paused. I'll admit, the dumb stings a little. I wanted the floor to open. I wanted a meteor. I wanted the heat death of the universe, specifically localized to this office. And then, Damien Cole said, and now he set the phone down and straightened up, and the something at the corner of his mouth was definitely, unmistakably something. We get to the part that I think warrants a conversation. He didn't read it aloud. He didn't have to. We both knew exactly what it said. Asterisk Daddy. With a capital D, asterisk. The silence in the office was so complete I could hear the blood in my ears. My face was so hot it could have heated the building. I could not look at him. I could not look away. I was frozen in my chair like a small, terrified animal in the beam of a very composed, very attractive headlights. Mr. Park, he said. Yes, I whispered, because it was all I had left. He moved. Just one step. Toward me. Toward the chair. The distance between us, which had already not been enough, shrank to something unbearable. He was close enough now that I could smell him cedar, something clean, something warm underneath, and my entire nervous system staged a coup. I'm going to ask you a question, he said, and I'd like an honest answer. Not a drunk one. A sober one. I nodded, because my voice had left the building. He looked down at me. Those gray eyes, close now, stormier than I'd ever seen them, and underneath the calm, underneath the control, something else entirely. Something that made the air in the room change, the way I'd stupidly, accurately written that it always did when he walked in. He leaned down. Not all the way. Just enough. Close enough that his next words were only for me. Is that really, he said, his voice barely above a murmur, how you see me? My heart was hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. I opened my mouth. The truth was right there, enormous and terrifying and 11 months overdue. And before I could say a single word, his phone buzzed on the desk. Loud. Sharp. We both froze. He glanced at it. His jaw tightened. That tell, the one I'd memorized, the one that meant something had gone wrong, or arrived, or interrupted. He straightened up. The moment fractured. He stepped back, and the cold air rushed into the space where he'd been, and I sat there gasping like I'd been holding my breath underwater. That'll be all for now, Mr. Park, he said, and his voice was steady again, controlled again. The glacier reformed over whatever had been underneath it. We'll continue this. Same time Monday. Don't resign over the weekend. A pause. The faintest edge of something. I'd hate for the conversation to end before it's finished. I stood on legs made of water. I think I said, yes, sir. I think I nodded. I have no memory of crossing the office or opening the door or stepping back out into the bright, oblivious studio floor. I do remember, with perfect, scalding clarity, the look he gave me as I reached the door. It was the look of a man who had just found something he fully intended to keep.